If your soul feels restless tonight, it's not confusion. It's Jesus whispering that your breakthrough is near. There are nights when silence feels louder than words, and the weight on your chest feels heavier than the world itself. Nights when you lie awake, staring at the ceiling, asking the same questions over and over. Why does life feel like a storm I can't escape? Why does it feel like everything is falling apart when I've been trying to do everything right? You've been walking in faith, trusting in God's timing, leaning on prayer, yet the doors around you seem to shut tighter than ever before. You try to smile through the struggle, but deep inside, there's a quiet ache you can't put into words. But what if I told you that this season of stillness, of silence, of unanswered prayers, it's not rejection, it's redirection by Jesus. Yes, what you're experiencing right now is not divine abandonment. It is, in fact, divine construction. Jesus isn't ignoring your pain, He's planning your purpose. He's not delaying to punish you. He's preparing you for something so powerful, so transformative, that you wouldn't even believe it if He told you today. Remember Joseph. His story in the Bible wasn't just a tale of hardship, it was a blueprint of divine intention. Betrayed by his own blood, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, imprisoned unjustly, yet through it all, the hand of God was guiding every step, not to destroy him, but to elevate him. And just like Joseph, you are not being buried by your circumstances. You are being planted. And who is the gardener? None other than Jesus Christ, the one who knows when to cut back, when to water, when to wait, and when to shine His light. You may feel like your life is being pruned, opportunities fading, friendships ending, paths closing. But don't you know that a gardener only prunes what he believes will bear more fruit? Jesus isn't taking away, He's making room. He's removing what no longer serves you so He can place in your hands what will overflow with His goodness. You see, blessings don't always begin with open doors. Sometimes they begin with shut ones. Sometimes God's greatest gifts are wrapped in seasons of silence, where we feel alone but are actually being drawn closer to Him. If it feels like everything familiar is being stripped away, it's because Jesus is about to reveal something new, something higher, something greater, something eternal. Let me tell you this, pain has a purpose when it passes through the hands of Jesus. Tears are not wasted when they fall at His feet. And your waiting is not empty when it's soaked in prayer. You're not forgotten. You're not overlooked. You are deeply known, fully seen, and endlessly loved by the Savior who conquered death just to walk with you through your darkest night. This very moment, yes, the one you're in right now, is not meaningless. Heaven is not silent. The angels are not idle. Jesus is moving pieces behind the curtain of your life in ways that you cannot see, so that at the right moment, everything will come together in a way that glorifies Him and blesses you beyond measure. So don't lose heart. Don't give up. The night may feel long, but the dawn is near. And when Jesus steps in, chains break, doors open, hearts heal, and lives transform. You are not waiting in vain. You are being refined. And soon you will rise, not by your strength, but by His grace. Jesus is not done with your story. In fact, the most beautiful chapter is about to begin. Sometimes what feels like a painful loss is actually Jesus shaping your destiny with His divine hands. It might appear harsh in the moment, but what you're experiencing is not destruction, it's divine construction. When Jesus sees that your life is carrying things that hinder your growth, He begins the sacred process of removing them, not to hurt you, but to make room for something far greater. He isn't cutting you down, He's pruning you to make you flourish. Jesus once spoke of this profound truth when He said that the branches that do not bear fruit are removed, but those that bear fruit are trimmed so they can grow even more. This shows us that Jesus doesn't ignore fruitful people. He refines them. And that refinement, although uncomfortable, is the gateway to greater glory. You might wonder why certain people walk out of your life or why certain doors suddenly shut. That's Jesus clearing away the clutter, separating you from toxic connections, harmful habits, and things you've grown too used to, but which are limiting your purpose. What looks like rejection is often redirection by the hand of the Savior who knows your future better than you know your past. Let us not forget the powerful example of Job, a man whose life was torn apart from every angle, yet his devotion to God never wavered. Even when everything was stripped from him, his family, his wealth, his health, Job clung to faith, and Jesus rewarded that unwavering spirit. When the storm passed, he received far more than he had lost, and his latter days were more blessed than his beginnings. This is what Jesus does. He doesn't leave you empty. He prepares you for abundance. So if you're walking through a season where everything seems to be falling apart, do not mistake it for failure. It could be Jesus preparing you, carving out space for something divine to grow. He is not punishing you. He's preparing the soil of your soul for a new harvest that eyes have not seen and ears have not heard. But what happens after the pruning? That's where another sign appears. Have you ever felt an inner discomfort, a strange emptiness, even when life looks stable on the outside? That feeling isn't random. It's not anxiety or dissatisfaction. It is Jesus speaking directly to your spirit, awakening a hunger for more. It's his gentle voice saying, "This is not the end of your story." Jesus is the one who stirs up that holy dissatisfaction, not to trouble you but to push you into purpose. When everything around you seems normal, yet your spirit is unsettled, that's the Savior pulling you closer to his plan. He knows that comfort can become a cage, so he awakens something deeper inside you, a yearning for your divine destiny. Remember Abraham, who was called by Jesus to leave behind everything familiar, his country, his family, his stability. He didn't receive a detailed roadmap, only a promise. And yet, he obeyed, stepping into the unknown by faith. Jesus didn't just lead him to a new land. He transformed him into the father of many nations. That is the power of following the divine call, even when the path is unclear. That unrest in your heart is not something to fear. It is a signal from Jesus that greater things are ahead. He's stretching your faith, pulling you out of spiritual complacency, and positioning you for breakthrough. The moment you begin to listen to that divine prompting, you'll find the courage to move forward, even when the future looks uncertain. And now comes the next phase, faith under fire. Jesus doesn't just want believers who speak of faith. He desires followers whose faith has been tested and proven. Real faith is born in adversity. It's not just about believing when things go well, it's about trusting Jesus when everything feels broken. Every trial you walk through, every mountain you face, every storm that rages around you, it's all part of a divine curriculum designed by Jesus to strengthen you, not destroy you. He allows the testing, not because he doubts you, but because he wants to reveal to you the strength he's already placed inside you. Jesus never said the journey would be easy, but he promised he would never leave you. He walks with you through every fire, just as he stood with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the furnace. The flames couldn't consume them because Jesus was right there in the middle of it all. And just like them, you too will come out untouched, stronger, bolder, and more faithful than ever before. So if you find yourself in a moment of breaking, do not give in to despair. Jesus is not finished with you. The breaking is not the end, it's the beginning of your becoming. Your pruning, your restlessness, your testing, they are all signs that Jesus is closer than you think, working behind the scenes to elevate your life beyond anything you've imagined. Let this message echo in your heart. When Jesus starts removing things, it's because he's preparing to pour out blessings. When you feel restless, it's because he's calling you higher. And when your faith is tested, it's because he's building within you a testimony that will glorify his name. Stay faithful. Stay hopeful. Because Jesus is not just writing your story, he's rewriting your destiny. There are moments in life when Jesus begins preparing you for something far greater than what your eyes can see or your heart can comprehend. But before that divine door swings open, he takes you through a sacred process designed not to destroy you, but to develop a stronger, unwavering faith within you. He doesn't bring you to the edge of a breakthrough without first walking you through the valley of trials, testing your patience, building your endurance, and refining your soul with the fire of spiritual growth. Because it is in those silent seasons of waiting that Jesus is crafting a testimony that will one day glorify him in mighty ways. When your faith feels like it's being stretched beyond measure, when the winds of delay and storms of hardship surround you, understand this. Jesus is not punishing you, he is preparing you. He is not denying your blessing, he is designing your future. Remember the story of David, a young shepherd boy chosen by God himself. Yet for years after being anointed, he ran through caves and wilderness, pursued by a jealous king. Still, David clung to the promises of the Lord with a fierce loyalty, never wavering in his devotion. And in due time, the crown that once seemed distant was placed upon his head. These divine tests are not random. They are strategic. They strip away everything shallow so that your faith may be deeply rooted, unshakable, and mature enough to carry the magnitude of what Jesus is about to place in your hands. But how do you survive the stretch? How do you press on when the answers are delayed and the silence of heaven feels overwhelming? The key lies in total obedience, a surrender so full that it says, Jesus, even when I don't understand, I will still follow you. Obedience is not about convenience, it is the narrow path that leads to divine overflow. When Jesus speaks, even if his instructions challenge your logic, trust his voice more than your circumstances. His ways are higher, his thoughts are wiser, and his timing is perfect. Just as Noah built the ark when there was not a cloud in sight, when everyone mocked and questioned him, he remained obedient to the command of the Lord. And because of that faith-fueled obedience, humanity was preserved through the flood. Your obedience today could be the lifeboat for generations after you. Following Jesus may require you to release relationships that drain your spirit, walk away from opportunities that don't align with your purpose, or sacrifice comfort for calling. But know this: every step of obedience is a step closer to your promise. The road may be long and the burdens may be heavy, but remember that Jesus is not just watching you. He's walking beside you, strengthening your heart with every tear, and storing up a reward that no man can take away. When you feel like giving up, let this truth hold you steady: Jesus never wastes pain. Every delay is infused with divine purpose, and every test is working behind the scenes to usher in a greater glory. Look at Joseph, betrayed by his brothers, falsely accused, imprisoned for years, yet he remained faithful to the dream God gave him. And in due season, that same Joseph was elevated to power in Egypt, positioned to save an entire nation. Jesus does not forget your labor, your loyalty, or your longing. He is the rewarder of those who chase after him with unwavering devotion. Your pursuit is not pointless. It's the very fuel that activates heaven's promises over your life. And when that divine moment comes, when the heavens open and what you've prayed for finally stands before you, Jesus will not just meet your expectations, he will exceed them beyond imagination. His blessings don't just touch the surface of your life. They overflow into your home, your relationships, your finances, and your future. They come pressed down, shaken together, and running over, transforming every broken area into a testimony of grace. Just like the promised land was described as flowing with milk and honey, so too will the season Jesus is preparing for you overflow with goodness, favor, and fulfillment. So undeniable that even those who doubted you will see that God's hand is upon you. But don't forget, the blessing isn't only for your comfort. It's for your calling. It's to reflect the glory of Jesus through your story, so others may find hope in your journey and encounter the same Savior who carried you through the fire. Before the blessing comes the process: pruning that cuts, stirring that unsettles, testing that stretches, and obedience that requires everything. But if you trust Jesus through it all, what awaits you will be more than worth the wait. You were never forgotten, never forsaken, and never overlooked. Jesus has been shaping you for such a time as this. What's ahead is a season where everything that once felt delayed will suddenly feel accelerated, where all the pieces will come together, and you'll see that it was Jesus writing your story all along. So hold on with fierce faith. Keep walking in obedience. Keep praying even when it feels quiet. Keep believing even when the evidence is scarce. Because just on the other side of your perseverance is a divine breakthrough that will change everything. Jesus is not just the author of your story, he is the finisher. And what he has begun in you, he will bring to completion, with glory and greatness written all over it. Best wishes as you walk boldly into your next chapter, trusting Jesus with every step, and preparing your heart to receive what heaven has already declared over your life.